It's 10:37 p.m., and this is Sam Whitmore speaking to you through what's left of 97.4 FM, broadcasting from the edge of Minneapolis, where the cold has already started to claim the city faster than anyone thought possible. The studio windows are frosted so thick I can't see the streetlights anymore, though I doubt they're still lit. Power across most of the grid went down sometime yesterday afternoon. The backup generator here is coughing its way through a few more gallons of diesel. And when that runs dry, I'll be left with a hand crank rig and whatever candles I can keep burning. The air in here is sharp and thin, my breath hanging white in front of me, even inside the booth. The silence beyond these walls is almost complete, broken only by the occasional groan of ice splitting trees in half out there in the dark. It didn't start with the cold itself. That was just weather at first, something that made the news anchors frown as they compared charts and shook their heads. The first sign was the power flicker, rolling outages sweeping from St. Paul out toward Duluth and down through the southern counties. Substations buckling under demand, transformers exploding in showers of sparks. At first, people figured it was the usual, an overworked grid, maybe sabotage if you listen to the more conspiratorial stations. But the pattern spread too fast, across too many states. Iowa went dark by midnight, Wisconsin by morning. Reports trickled in that parts of Chicago were hit, but then the reports stopped altogether. Phones dropped off the network. News stations cut to static. Drop a comment. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I remember standing outside the studio right after the blackout hit. The air was colder than it had any right to be in early December. It cut through my gloves and scarf like I was standing bare-skinned in it. Cars littered the intersections, engines dead, their owners banging on hoods or staring at their useless phones. Some tried to push vehicles off the road, others just walked away from them, clutching their jackets tighter. There was this sound, like distant thunder, that rolled across the skyline, and then I saw the first transformer tower give out, metal twisting and groaning as the weight of ice bent it sideways. Fire arced into the dark, then blinked out, leaving whole blocks drowned in blackness. I've been reaching out to anyone left still transmitting. Shortwave bands are the only lifelines now, and they're thinning out by the hour. A contact up near Fargo told me the river froze solid in a single night, something locals swear they haven't seen in living memory. He said his neighbor's cattle were dead by morning, lungs crystallized from trying to breathe the air. Another report came from a trucker stranded off Interstate 94, somewhere near Albertville. He said semis jackknifed in both directions, drivers abandoning their rigs when the diesel gelled up in the tanks, leaving steel hulks scattered across the highway like toys dropped by a careless child. His voice cracked when he said the snow wasn't normal, dry, fine, almost like ash. I keep thinking about how fragile all of this was. The warmth, the grid, the food trucks that rolled into our grocery stores each dawn. Strip away the power for even a few hours in this cold, and the shelves vanish. The heat cuts out. The water stops flowing. You can hear it in the way the city's gone quiet. No hum of traffic, no distant music from the bars, no bark of dogs. Just the ice settling into everything it touches. I've got some notes from a friend who used to work at the university, meteorology department, specialized in Arctic fronts. She left me one final voicemail before the networks went down. Said this wasn't just a cold snap, not even a polar vortex. She called it a breakdown, some kind of atmospheric misfire where the jet stream collapsed and dragged the Siberian air mass across the Midwest like a curtain tearing loose. If she's right, then this isn't something that passes in a day or two. This is the new weather. the kind that buries states alive. I don't know how long I'll be able to keep this signal alive, but if you're listening, conserve what fuel you have. Keep your water inside, where it won't freeze solid. Layer up, not just with clothes, but with whatever you can pile on. Newspaper, blankets, tarps. Heat won't come back soon. Maybe not at all. If you've got neighbors, check on them. Alone, none of us stand a chance against this. Together, maybe we can make it until the thaw. If that thaw ever comes. This is Sam Whitmore on 97.4 FM. Still alive, still holding the line. If you can hear me, you're not the only one left. It's 6:12 a.m. now, and I can't feel my fingers the way I used to. The booth is an icebox, the kind of cold that creeps into your bones and sits there no matter how much you rub your hands together. I've been burning scraps of paper in a metal bin to keep from freezing, but the smoke is starting to sting my lungs. Outside, the city is blanketed in a white so dense it's almost blue. The kind of blue that makes it hard to tell where the sky ends and the ground begins. I cracked the studio door an hour ago just to listen, and the sound was wrong. The snow doesn't crunch underfoot anymore. It groans, like glass under pressure. The power grid's gone for good here. I can tell, because the last hospital lights in downtown, the ones that flickered for a day longer thanks to backup generators, have gone dark. That means ventilators are silent, that the people who couldn't breathe without help are already gone. There's no way around it. The only light now comes from fires. I can see them scattered across the skyline, orange stains in the snow where houses and gas stations have gone up. I doubt they were set by choice. Someone must have been desperate enough to light anything that would burn. An old trucker named Harry broke in on the emergency frequency last night. His signal was faint, but he said he'd made it as far as the outskirts of Rochester before the fuel in his rig froze solid. He was holed up in the back of a diner with two others, trying to keep a fire going inside a steel drum. He told me the highways are lined with abandoned cars, their drivers frozen inside, hands still clutching steering wheels, ice crawling up windshields from the inside. He swore one family he passed had the glass frosted so thick you couldn't see their faces, just silhouettes, all huddled together. He said he keeps telling himself he's lucky to still be breathing, but his voice sounded like someone who wasn't sure if waking up again is a blessing anymore. I've been thinking about what the scientists used to say when the first stories about blackouts came through. Some said sabotage. Others said the infrastructure was just too old, that it was bound to fail sooner or later under strain. But what I've been hearing lately doesn't sound like simple failure. A contact near Duluth said the entire Great Lakes shipping network froze in place overnight. Cargo ships locked in by ice as far as you could see. Crews abandoning them for the shore. If that's true, then the food and fuel we relied on to keep this part of the country alive are stuck out there, trapped like toys in glass. I'm trying to keep myself from spiraling, but the silence makes it hard. The phone lines are dead. The internet is gone. Even the shortwave bands are thinning out. Stations I used to hear from Fargo, Milwaukee, even Des Moines, they're static now. I don't know if that means they lost power, or if they just froze where they sat, the way the rest of this place is freezing. If you're listening, you need to start thinking beyond just tonight. Don't count on heat coming back. Don't count on the trucks rolling in with supplies. Melt snow if you have to, but don't eat it straight. It'll drop your core temperature fast. Find insulation wherever you can. Rip drywall off walls, pile books against doors, anything that blocks wind. If you've got candles, ration them. Burn oil, burn wood, burn whatever keeps the air moving warm. And don't waste energy hoping for rescue. You have to plan for yourself, for your neighbors. That's the only way this doesn't end with all of us frozen solid in our homes. The temperature gauge here says -42. That's without wind chill. And the wind hasn't stopped howling since midnight. If you're still alive out there, if you can still hear me through this static, then know this: I'm still here too. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM, holding on. It's 8:49 p.m. now, the third night since everything went dark, and I don't think I've ever heard silence this heavy in my life. Minneapolis is a dead city under a lid of ice, and I swear even the air has stopped moving. The wind finally died down this afternoon, but the quiet that replaced it feels worse. At least when the blizzard was screaming against the windows, you could believe there was still life out there, still something happening beyond these walls. Now, it's just stillness, the kind that makes you think the whole world froze over. I climbed the stairwell up to the roof earlier, just to see if I could catch another signal, but the antenna was coated in thick ice, a casing almost 2 inches deep. I tried knocking it off, but every strike echoed down the empty streets like a gunshot, and I couldn't bring myself to keep going. The city stretched out beneath me, nothing but pale mounds where buildings used to be. Cars are buried so deep in drifts, you wouldn't know they were there unless the curve of a roof gave them away. I could see where people tried to dig paths with shovels, but most of them just vanish halfway down a block, like the people gave up, or like they never made it back inside. There was a fire earlier down near Hennepin Avenue, the kind that burns hot even in the middle of all this snow. It looked like a row of houses went up, probably when someone's kerosene heater tipped over. Flames cut a jagged wound into the darkness, but it didn't last long. The snow smothered it faster than I thought possible, and when the smoke cleared, there was nothing left but a black scar on the ice. I picked up a transmission this morning on a broken loop, coming faint over shortwave. Could barely make out the words through the static, but I caught fragments. Chicago, hospitals failing, Lakeshore Drive impassable, survivors moving underground. That was it. No identification, no frequency tags, just a burst of desperation that faded into white noise. It means the storm didn't just claim us here. It's spreading south, swallowing city after city. I can't stop thinking about the people who didn't have warning. Families caught on the freeway when the first blackout hit. I saw some of them from the studio window 2 days ago, headlights still glowing faintly before the batteries died. Now the cars are just lumps in the snow, their outlines softening each hour. No one comes to check anymore. No one dares. The cold plays tricks on your mind. I keep hearing knocks at the door, but when I check, there's nothing but the groan of the building under the weight of ice. My reflection in the dark glass looks like someone I don't recognize. Cheeks hollow, lips split from the air. I don't even bother turning on the studio lights anymore. They make the room feel emptier somehow, and I can't spare the generator fuel. To anyone hearing this, you need to know that food is about to become a bigger enemy than the cold. Shelves were stripped bare the first day. Whatever's left is already freezing solid in pantries. Cans burst when they freeze, and freezers don't work without power. If you find something edible, keep it close to your body to thaw it before you eat. Otherwise, it'll tear your stomach apart. And don't waste calories shoveling paths unless you have to. Every movement drains you twice as fast in this weather. Save your strength for fires, for insulation, for keeping your heart beating through the night. I don't know who else is out there. The radios are quieter with each hour, but I'm not giving up this frequency yet. Not until the fuel runs dry and the batteries freeze. As long as there's a voice here, you'll know you aren't alone in this frozen city. This is Sam Whitmore on 97.4 FM, keeping the signal alive, even if the world outside has gone silent. It's 4:27 a.m. and I can feel the weight of this storm pressing down on everything, even inside these walls. The temperature has dropped again, lower than I've ever seen on any gauge, and the air feels like it's slicing straight through my skin. I haven't slept in almost 2 days. Every time I close my eyes, I hear something in the pipes or the rafters, and I jolt awake thinking someone's outside. But there's never anyone. Just the sound of ice cracking as the building settles, like bones snapping one by one. I've been rationing what little fuel I have left for the generator, just enough to keep the transmitter alive for short bursts. The lights in here are gone for good now. I switched them off yesterday to conserve every drop of energy. I'm talking in the dark, with nothing but a lantern flickering on the desk and the hiss of static in my ears. The station feels less like a studio now, and more like a tomb that I've been locked inside. Last night, before the wind picked up again, I caught sight of movement down on Washington Avenue. A small group, maybe 5 or 6 people, bundled so tightly I couldn't see their faces. They were dragging something behind them on a sled. Looked like firewood, or maybe just furniture torn from houses. They didn't look up once, didn't make a sound, just trudged forward through snow that came up to their knees, shoulders bent, heads low. I thought about running down there, about trying to make contact, but by the time I even reached for my coat, they had already vanished into the white. That's the way of it now. People move like ghosts, in silence, without leaving anything behind. A voice came through faintly on the band around midnight. A woman, out of St. Cloud, I think. She said the Mississippi's frozen so solid you could walk across it without hesitation. She also said the National Guard post out there stopped broadcasting 2 days ago, and that's when the looting started. Stores ransacked, trucks overturned for scraps of food. She claimed people are breaking into pharmacies now, not for medicine, but for alcohol, anything that burns long enough to make fire. Her last words before the line cut were, "It's not the cold that'll kill us first. It's each other." Then silence. I've replayed that message 6 times, listening for something else, but it always ends the same way. I keep wondering if anyone higher up is even still out there. No word from FEMA, no chatter from Washington. Nothing from the bases that used to flood these channels whenever storms hit. If they're still alive, they're staying quiet. Maybe they've retreated underground. Maybe they've given up on us here in the north, written this whole region off as a frozen grave. If that's the truth, then the only voices left are ours. People with hand crank radios, busted antennas, and generators running on fumes. We're the last thread stitching this silence together. I won't sugarcoat it. Every hour feels heavier than the last. Supplies dwindle. The cold worsens. The signals fade. But I need you to remember something, whoever you are, wherever you're listening. Survival doesn't come from waiting for help. It comes from refusing to quit. Keep moving. Keep the fire lit. Don't let yourself sit too long in the dark, because once you stop, it's almost impossible to start again. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM, and I'll keep talking until my last breath fogs in this frozen air. If you can hear me, you're still alive, and that means there's still hope. It's 11:02 p.m. now, and the studio is colder than I thought a building could ever be. My water bottle froze solid sitting 3 feet from the lantern, and when I tried to take a sip earlier, the plastic cracked in my hands like glass. I've wrapped myself in 3 coats and a pile of blankets, but the chill seeps in anyway, worming through every seam, every layer. The microphone is so cold it burns my lips if I lean too close. I'm trying to keep speaking just to stop my teeth from chattering. I walked down into the street this afternoon. I shouldn't have, but the walls were closing in on me, and I needed to know if anything out there was still moving. The snow has swallowed the city whole. Cars are just ridges under white hills. Traffic lights are bent low with the weight of ice, and shop fronts are sealed tight behind layers so thick you'd need an axe just to crack them open. I saw footprints, though. Not many, but enough to prove someone else is still alive out there. They trailed along Nicollet Mall, staggered, uneven, before vanishing into a collapsed snowdrift near the old department store. I stood there staring at those prints for too long, wondering if the snow closed over them before the person got where they were going, or if the person themselves is buried beneath it now. The radio bands are emptier than they've ever been. Tonight I scanned for 2 hours, and all I caught was a single broken signal out of Wisconsin. The man's voice was weak, barely audible, but I made out the words, "Madison, gone dark, hospitals full of bodies." Then he coughed, a sound dry and ragged, before static swallowed him whole. No call sign, no return. Just another voice gone. I keep replaying what the meteorologist's voicemail said about the jet stream collapse. A global breakdown. That phrase won't leave my head. If this isn't just local, if it isn't just the Midwest, then what are we dealing with? Europe, Asia. How many continents are under this same frozen sky? How many cities are going dark right now with no one left to count the dead? I thought I saw a fire tonight far out toward the river. A faint flicker, moving, too steady to be lightning. Maybe a camp, maybe survivors huddled around something that still burns. Or maybe just another gas line rupturing in the ice. Hard to tell through the haze, but I cling to the thought that someone else is still holding on, that I'm not the last voice talking into the dark. Food here is down to scraps. I cracked open a vending machine in the lobby, and what I found was frozen solid. Candy bars like bricks, chips shattered into dust. I've been breaking them apart with a hammer, letting them thaw against the lantern before I eat. It's not much, but it's enough to buy me another night. And maybe that's the point now. Surviving one night at a time, even when the future looks like nothing but more ice. If you're listening to me, hear this. You are not alone, even if it feels like it. Somewhere out there, another voice is speaking into the static. Another fire is burning against the wind. Stay alive. Stay warm. Keep moving. The storm hasn't taken us all yet. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM. Still here, still breathing, still talking into the cold. It's 5:41 a.m., and the sky outside is nothing but steel gray, heavy and low, like it's pressing the whole city flat beneath its weight. The snow never really stopped. It just shifts between falling soft as dust and driving sideways in sheets you can't look through. I keep wiping frost off the inside of the window, but it creeps right back as if the glass itself is giving up. The city looks drowned in white, buildings sunken to their rooftops, the streets gone, swallowed like they were never there. I heard something in the night, shouting carried on the wind. At first I thought I was imagining it, just my mind playing tricks after so many hours alone. But it came again, faint, echoing, maybe from down by the river. I bundled myself in everything I had and cracked the door open, the cold hitting me so hard my eyes watered instantly. I stood there listening. The sound was real, but I couldn't make out words, just raw panic. Then it stopped, cut off mid-yell, like the voice had been pulled under the snow. I stayed there far too long, ears straining in the silence, before forcing myself back inside. My feet still haven't thawed properly since. The generator's sputtering more often now. I've been shutting it down between broadcasts, trying to stretch the last of the fuel. When it dies, the transmitter will run on hand power alone, and that won't keep a signal going more than a few minutes at a time. I'll try anyway. Better to break my arms cranking than to let the silence win. I picked up fragments on shortwave late last night, somewhere around the Canadian border. The voice was calm, too calm, reading off coordinates. I don't know if it was a rescue point, a military fallback, or just someone trying to lead people away. They mentioned Fort Francis and the Rainy River frozen solid. That was all I got before the static swallowed the band. If anyone else caught that, maybe you can make sense of it. To me, it felt less like instructions and more like a farewell. I've started rationing the air inside, if that makes any sense. I've sealed every crack, every vent, but still the cold leaks in, and the oxygen grows thin when the fire's burning. My head aches, my chest tightens, and I have to open the door for just a moment, let in air so sharp it burns my throat, just to stay conscious. Survival isn't about comfort anymore. It's about trading one pain for another and hoping you last long enough to make the next trade. If you're listening out there, I don't know what you've got left. Maybe a basement. Maybe just your car under a pile of blankets. But don't let the quiet fool you. The storm is alive in its own way. It takes and takes, waiting for you to sit still long enough to finish the job. You have to fight it, even if the fight is nothing more than lighting one more match, moving your body one more time, whispering to yourself just to hear a human voice. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM, and though the city is buried, though the world feels hollowed out, I'm still here, still talking into the dark. If you can hear me, that means you are too, and that's enough for now. It's 9:18 p.m. now, and the storm has turned the city into something unrecognizable, like Minneapolis was erased and replaced with a glacier overnight. The rooftops are buried under jagged ridges of ice, the streets gone completely. You could walk over whole blocks without realizing what's underneath you. From the studio window, I can see where apartment buildings once stood tall. Now they're nothing more than lumps in the snow, their windows black pits swallowed by frost. There are no colors anymore, not even shadows. Just endless white and gray, stretching out until it swallows the horizon. I tried to step outside again today, thinking maybe the cold had leveled off, that I could move a few blocks to scavenge more fuel. I didn't make it more than 100 feet before my lungs seized, every breath stabbing like knives. My beard froze solid in minutes, ice welding the scarf to my face. I stumbled past a city bus stranded on Washington, its windows shattered by the wind, the seats inside coated in thick frost. There were shapes inside, huddled together, still clutching at one another, even in death. I couldn't bring myself to look long enough to count them. I turned back before my legs gave out, and it took everything I had to force the studio door closed again behind me. My fingertips were gray when I peeled my gloves off. I pressed them against the lantern until the pain made me sick. The airwaves are emptier than I've ever heard them, static stretching out like an ocean. I scan for hours and get nothing. But just before dawn, a voice cut through for a few seconds. Hoarse, broken, maybe a child. They repeated the same phrase twice. Still here, then gone. I don't know where they were, or if they're even alive now, but it was enough to remind me that somewhere in this whiteout, There are still others breathing, still fighting. Food is running down fast. I broke into the vending machine stash again and found a couple of cans of soda hidden at the back. They were frozen solid, but I melted one near the lantern until it fizzed weakly. It tasted like metal and sugar, but it was wet, and it kept me going. Hunger gnaws at me worse than the cold some nights, a hollow pit that echoes with every movement. I keep thinking about the shelves that used to overflow at the grocery store down the block. All of it useless now, frozen rock solid or looted long ago. Survival has boiled down to scraps, whatever you can thaw enough to chew. I can't stop wondering if this storm is ever going to end. The meteorologists used to talk about polar vortices, about temporary cold snaps. But this feels permanent, like the whole world shifted into a new state, and there's no way back. The snow doesn't melt, it just layers deeper, burying everything that once mattered. Roads, homes, families, all sealed away beneath ice that will never thaw. If you're listening to me right now, remember this. The cold is patient. It waits for you to give in. Don't let it. Keep moving. Keep lighting fires. Keep your blood hot. Every breath you take in this storm is an act of defiance. You're still alive. That's all that matters. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM, talking into the endless night. If you can hear me, you're not gone yet. And neither am I. It's 2:36 a.m., and the kind of quiet outside right now doesn't feel natural. The storm has smothered everything, even the wind. When I opened the door just a crack earlier, it was like stepping into a vacuum. No rustle of branches, no scrape of ice, no sound at all. Just still air, heavy with frost, so cold it burned my throat before I could take a second breath. I don't know what's worse, the howling blizzards that shake the walls, or this suffocating silence that makes me wonder if I'm the last one alive in the city. The generator coughed itself to a stop for good about an hour ago. I gave it one last kick, cursed at it, begged it even, but it's out of fuel, and there's no way I'll find more in this frozen graveyard. From now on, it's just the hand crank keeping this broadcast alive, and I can already feel the ache in my shoulders. If the signal fades, if my voice cuts in and out, no, it's not because I've quit. It's because every second on this air is carved out of what little strength I've got left. I caught sight of something strange from the roof earlier. A plume of smoke, black against the gray sky, rising straight up near the river. Not drifting, not blown apart by wind, straight up. It means someone, somewhere close, has fire strong enough to fight back against this storm. My first thought was to try and make it there, to see if anyone would take me in. But the truth is, the streets are impassable now. Snow piled higher than cars, drifted against buildings so deep you'd need a ladder to climb out. The smoke might as well be 100 miles away. All I can do is hope whoever's down there keeps their fire burning. I've been living on pieces of broken candy bars and thawed soda for 2 days now. My stomach growls like an animal, but I force myself to eat slow. Too much at once and I'll burn through what little energy I've got left. The hunger sharpens everything, makes the cold feel deeper, makes the silence louder. It's like the storm knows exactly how to gnaw at you, piece by piece. A weak transmission reached me late last night, a voice I almost didn't believe was real. A man said he was broadcasting from a farmhouse outside Stillwater. He sounded tired, like he was speaking from the bottom of a well, but he swore there were still 20 people alive with him, all huddled in a barn heated by wood stoves. He said they'd buried the doors under hay bales and lined the walls with tin to keep the warmth in. I wanted to ask questions, wanted to hold him on the line as long as possible, but his signal blinked out before I could say a word. Maybe the storm swallowed him, or maybe he turned the dial and moved on. Either way, it gave me something I haven't had in a while. Proof that life hasn't been erased completely. I don't know how long this can last, how long a human body can take this kind of cold, but if you can hear me, if this voice reaches even one of you, then we're not finished yet. You have to hold on. Light one more match. Melt one more cup of snow. Fight off the cold for one more night. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM, still alive in this frozen city. My breath fogs in front of me. My hands are numb, but I'm not silent, and as long as you hear me, neither are you. It's 7:14 p.m. now, and I can't remember the last time I saw daylight. The sun comes and goes behind the storm, but the sky never changes. It's always the same gray sheet stretching overhead, thick and endless. The city has no shadows anymore, no warmth, just a dull light that fades into blackness without warning. I've been watching it from the window, and it feels like time itself has frozen along with everything else. Days bleed into nights, nights into days, until all that's left is cold. The studio has become a coffin of ice. The water in the toilet bowl froze into a solid block 2 days ago. The air inside is so dry, it splits my lips open whenever I speak too long. Every surface is coated with frost. My desk, the microphone, even the stacks of old vinyl records leaning against the wall. When I press my hand against the wall, it feels like stone pulled from the bottom of a lake. The cold here isn't something you endure. It's something you fight every second just to keep your pulse moving. I left the building again this morning, desperate for anything I could burn. I found an office down the block with doors kicked in, papers scattered across the floor. I stuffed as much of it into a garbage bag as I could carry, fingers burning through my gloves. Half the pages crumbled into ice when I tried to fold them. I lit some when I got back here, and they burned fast. Nothing but weak orange flickers that vanished before the room even began to warm. But it was enough to give me a moment of light, enough to make me feel human again. On the way back, I passed a school bus, tipped on its side, half buried in the drift. The windows were coated thick with ice, but inside I saw them, shapes, small and still. Children, frozen where they sat, huddled together under their coats. I stopped and stared until the air stole the breath from me, and then I forced myself to keep walking. That image has followed me back here. Every time I close my eyes, I see those little hands curled tight around each other. That's the cost of this storm. It doesn't just kill, it preserves. It holds you in place as a monument to how fast everything fell apart. The radio bands are nearly empty now. I sit for hours spinning the dial, chasing ghosts through the static. Once, for a few seconds, I thought I heard music, a guitar, soft and broken, but it faded before I could be sure it was real. I tell myself it was a survivor somewhere, playing into the dark just to remind themselves they still had a reason. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I needed to. I keep thinking about what it means to survive like this. Not thriving, not planning, just scraping together the next breath. I know people out there are doing the same, lighting fires in basements, thawing snow over stoves, trying to remember what warmth felt like. And if you're listening right now, then you're one of them. That means the storm hasn't taken everything. Not yet. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM, still alive, still speaking into the frozen dark. If you can hear me, know this: you're not gone. As long as voices are moving across these airwaves, there's proof we're still here, Don't give in. Not tonight. Not tomorrow. Not while there's breath left to fog the air. It's 12:55 a.m., and the cold has a sound now. I swear I can hear it in the walls, like a low groan that never stops. Wood bending, concrete splintering under the weight of ice. Sometimes it's sharp, like glass breaking in slow motion. I sit here in the dark, and it feels like the whole building is shrinking around me, pulled tighter and tighter until it cracks. Every time the noise comes, I flinch, waiting for the roof to cave in and bury me along with the station. The snow outside has swallowed everything higher than the cars now. I watched from the roof earlier, and the streetlights are almost gone. Just crooked poles sticking out of drifts that look more like dunes than anything else. If the snow keeps piling the way it has, the city's going to vanish. Not destroyed, not burned down, just erased, sealed under white like it was never here. I keep thinking about people who fled, who thought the highways were their way out. The roads were gone by the second night. Anyone who tried to outrun this storm probably froze where they sat, miles from anywhere, their cars buried before morning. I haven't eaten much today. A stale candy bar I broke in half and let thaw against the lantern. My hands shake when I hold food now, not because of hunger, but because of how much my body craves it. I ration everything, every crumb, every sip. The storm isn't just freezing us, it's starving us, cutting the lines that used to keep shelves full and pantries stocked. Even if the weather cleared tomorrow, the trucks wouldn't roll in. Not for weeks, not for months. By then, how many of us would still be here? The airwaves are dead tonight, nothing but static stretching across the dial. I spin it anyway, just to pretend someone's still talking out there. But I haven't caught a voice since yesterday morning, and even that was just fragments. Maybe the cold is cutting the signals off too, smothering them the same way it's smothering everything else. Maybe I'm the only transmitter left in this part of the country. I've started talking out loud to myself between broadcasts, just so I don't forget what it sounds like to hear another human voice. The silence is dangerous. It presses in, tricks you into thinking you're alone. But I know I'm not. Not really. Somewhere out there, someone is listening, even if they can't answer back. That's enough for me to keep cranking this handle, keep burning through the last scraps of energy I have. If you're alive right now, if you're huddled in a basement or a frozen car or a boarded up house, I need you to hear this. Don't stop. Don't close your eyes for too long. Don't sit still in the dark. The storm wants you quiet, still, frozen. Fight it however you can. Burn whatever will burn. Sing if you have to, just to hear yourself. Keep moving. Keep breathing. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM, and I'm still here. The city may be buried, the world may be silent, but I'm not done yet. And if you're hearing this, neither are you. It's 6:07 a.m., and the horizon is nothing but a slab of pale white where the sky should be. No sunrise, no warmth breaking through, just that same dead light bleeding into another day that feels no different from the last. I can't tell anymore if it's been 3 days or 5 since the blackout. The storm has stolen time the way it's stolen everything else. I walked the stairwell earlier, all the way down to the lobby, just to move, just to feel blood in my legs again. The air down there was colder than outside, heavy and damp, like the building itself is sweating frost. The glass doors were shattered, snow piled waist-high against the entryway, drifted into the corners until the lobby looked more like a cave than a place people used to walk through every morning with coffee in their hands. I found a stack of old newspapers near the reception desk, frozen stiff, but I dragged them upstairs anyway. They'll burn fast and ugly, but fire is fire. From the roof, I could see the river frozen solid, a flat white ribbon carving through the city. You could walk across it now without breaking stride, though I doubt anyone who tries makes it far. There were dark shapes on the ice, maybe logs, maybe cars, maybe something worse. But I couldn't bring myself to climb down and find out. The idea of human bodies locked in that sheet of glass makes my stomach twist, and I've seen enough already. A weak signal cut through the static around 3 a.m. It was a woman's voice, faint, trembling, maybe from somewhere in northern Iowa. She said entire towns are gone silent down there, just black holes where communities used to be. Her words were broken, half-eaten by static, but I caught one sentence clear as day. It's like the map is being erased. Then she was gone. No call sign, no repeat, just static. I sat with those words ringing in my ears for an hour after, staring at the blank wall like maybe it would give me an answer. The food is almost gone. I'm down to the last few scraps from the vending machine and whatever half-frozen paper burns long enough to heat them. Hunger gnaws at me every hour now. It sharpens the cold, makes it bite harder. I know my body's burning through itself just to keep me warm enough to move, and the longer this goes, the thinner I'll get until there's nothing left. But I'm still here. My breath still fogs in front of me. My voice still cracks through the static. And as long as that's true, the storm hasn't finished the job. To anyone who hears me, don't quit. Don't let the storm convince you it's already over. There are others out there, even if you can't hear them tonight. Light another fire. Melt another handful of snow. Take one more step. That's all survival is now. One more breath. One more act of defiance against the silence. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM. My hands are numb, my stomach's empty, but I'm still talking. If you can hear me, so are you. And that's enough for today. It's 11:39 p.m., and the air inside this room feels like the inside of a freezer. Every exhale turns into a small cloud that lingers in front of me before vanishing, and I keep rubbing my hands together, but the warmth never comes back. My knuckles are split open from the cold, little red lines that sting every time I touch metal. The lantern sputters more than it burns now, the flame low and weak, throwing shadows across the frost on the walls. It's strange how fast a place that once felt normal can turn into something unrecognizable. I forced myself to step outside again this evening. Not far, just to the corner. The snow has drifted higher than my waist, and the streets are nothing but trenches carved by whoever passed before me. Some paths stop abruptly, swallowed by fresh snowfall, no trace of where those people went after. The buildings look like jagged cliffs of ice, windows sealed tight, doors buried. The world isn't a city anymore. It's a frozen canyon, and I'm one of the last voices echoing inside it. I found a grocery bag frozen into the snowbank near an abandoned car. Inside were 3 cans of beans, all solid ice, the labels peeled away by frost. I carried them back like treasure. They're useless cold, but I set one by the lantern, and after 2 hours it softened enough to scoop with a spoon. It tasted like metal and salt, but it was food, and for a few minutes, the ache in my stomach eased. It's strange how quickly hunger changes you, how grateful you can feel for something that would have been forgotten in a pantry just a week ago. I picked up a broken signal around 9. A man, his voice rough and weak, repeating coordinates, somewhere west of here near Mankato. He kept saying shelter, church basement, 30 alive. The words faded in and out, but I clung to them, every syllable hitting me like a reminder that this storm hasn't erased everyone. Maybe there are pockets out there, people still sharing fires, still holding each other up against this crushing cold. But just as quickly as it came, the voice was gone, eaten by static. I spun the dial for nearly an hour trying to catch it again, but the airwaves were empty. I can't stop thinking about the silence. It presses in heavier than the snow. No dogs barking, no cars in the distance, no hum of electricity, just nothing. The human sounds that stitched a city together are gone, and all that's left is wind and my own voice echoing in this room. The silence feels alive, like it's waiting for me to stop speaking so it can close in and finish the job. If you're still alive out there, if this signal finds you, I need you to keep going. Pile blankets, tear furniture apart for firewood, burn books if you have to. Don't worry about what gets ruined. There's no use for possessions in a world that's freezing to death. The only thing that matters is keeping your body moving, your blood warm, your heart beating. This is Sam Whitmore on 97.4 FM, still here, still defying the storm. If my voice reaches you, then the world isn't finished yet. As long as we're breathing, the ice hasn't claimed us all. It's 3:28 a.m., and the storm hasn't eased once. The snow falls in sheets so heavy you can't see more than a few feet out the window, like the whole city has been swallowed by a white curtain. The air sneaks in through the cracks in the walls, no matter how many layers of paper and cloth I've stuffed in to block it. I sit here in gloves and coats, wrapped in blankets, and still my bones ache as if the cold has seeped inside me. Every breath hurts. Every word scrapes out of me like frost against glass. I keep hearing noises outside. Not voices this time. Not the cries I thought I heard the other night. Different. Slow, heavy sounds, like something shifting under the snow. Maybe it's ice breaking under its own weight. Maybe it's buildings collapsing in silence. Or maybe people are still out there, moving like shadows in the drifts, desperate for anything that burns. I tell myself I'll stay put, that it's safer in here. But sometimes I feel like the storm itself is drawing me out, whispering in the stillness for me to step into the dark. I tried to boil snow earlier, just a little, to drink something warm, but the flame from the lantern wasn't strong enough, and the cup sat there with ice melting only around the edges. I sipped it anyway. Cold water, metallic, but it slid down my throat and gave me a moment of relief. I thought about what happens when even that runs out, when I have nothing left to burn. Wood, paper, scraps of plastic. Everything disappears in minutes, leaving only smoke and hunger behind. And yet I keep lighting them, one after another, because the alternative is worse. Darkness, silence, and stillness that never ends. The bands tonight are almost dead. I spun the dial until my fingers went numb, and for a second I thought I caught a voice in the static. Just a single word. North. Then it was gone. I don't know if it was real or if my brain is making things up to keep me company, but I'll hold on to it anyway. North. Maybe someone's alive up there. Maybe there's fire strong enough to fight back against this. The hunger is getting worse. My stomach twists like it's eating itself, and every time I stand, my legs shake. I know what starvation does. It makes you weak, makes you careless, makes you stop caring whether you wake up or not. That's the part I fight the hardest. Not the cold, not the silence, but the pull to just let go. If you can hear me, Don't let it take you. Don't let this storm convince you it's hopeless. Eat whatever you can find. Drink whatever you can melt. Burn anything that will catch fire. This world is being buried, but if we breathe, if we speak, if we fight, then we're not gone yet. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM. My voice may be fading, my strength running thin, but I'm still alive. And if you're listening, so are you. That's enough to keep going. It's 1:11 a.m., and I don't know if the storm has eased or if I've just grown numb to it. The wind still rattles against the windows, but it sounds far away now, like a memory. The snow has climbed so high against the building that the second-floor windows are blocked. Nothing but pressed white, where the glass used to look out over the street. The city isn't being covered, it's being erased, layer by layer, until there's nothing left but a smooth, endless sheet of ice. I tried the shortwave band again tonight. For hours I turned the dial, cranking until my arms burned, but it was all static, a flat ocean of noise. Then, for less than a minute, I heard it. Someone reciting numbers, clear, steady, as if reading off coordinates. I scribbled them down on a scrap of cardboard. 44, 93, 38. That puts it somewhere south of here, maybe past Faribault. I don't know if it was a real signal or a trick of the storm, but if it was real, it means there are people still organized enough to mark a point on the map. People alive, not just surviving, but trying to hold something together. It makes me wonder if I should try to leave this place, but I already know what the roads look like. The city is a graveyard of frozen cars, and the drifts stretch taller than houses. Walking south would be suicide. The food is nearly gone. I've got 1 can left, and I'm saving it, though I don't know what I'm saving it for. Maybe for when the hunger gnaws too hard to think. Maybe for a night when the cold feels unbearable, and I need something to remind me I'm still human. Hunger changes how you see the world. I pass things I used to think of as garbage, and now I wonder if they can be chewed, thawed, burned. There's no pride left, no shame, only survival. I saw something moving in the snow tonight. Not a person, not an animal. It was too large, too slow. A building groaning under the weight, maybe, or a bus collapsing in on itself. But for a few seconds, I could have sworn it was alive, dragging itself across the street before vanishing into the storm. The mind plays tricks when all you've got is silence and shadows. Still, I can't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone out there, that something moved beneath the drifts. The hunger and cold wear you down, but it's the silence that tries to finish you. It presses into your ears until you forget what voices sound like. That's why I keep talking, keep forcing my words into the static. Not just for you, whoever you are, but for me. So I don't forget that I'm still alive, still here, still fighting. If you can hear this, remember, don't stop moving. Don't sit still too long. The storm waits for that moment, when you close your eyes, when you let your body go slack. That's when it takes you. Keep your fire alive. Keep breathing. Keep talking, even if there's no one to answer. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM, one voice against the storm. If you're listening, then the silence hasn't won. Not yet. It's 7:03 p.m., and the weight of this storm feels heavier than the building itself. The windows are gone now, not shattered, just sealed from the outside by walls of ice. I pressed my hand to the glass earlier, and it felt like touching stone. No give, no crackle, just solid frost pressed so tight that the window might as well be part of the wall. The light that filters through it is dim and gray, and when night falls, even that fades until the room feels like a sealed cave. I went down to the basement this morning. Thought maybe I'd find a hidden cache, something left behind when the last crew abandoned the station. All I found were broken chairs, empty crates, and a damp cold that clung to my skin like a second layer of ice. The air down there smelled of mildew, as if the storm has pressed moisture into every pore of the concrete. But I dragged up a few old wooden planks, split them with a hammer, and burned them in the tin bin. The fire lasted 20 minutes. 20 minutes of color, of warmth, of remembering what life used to feel like. When it burned out, the cold returned faster than I thought possible, swallowing every trace of it. The airwaves were silent most of the day, but just before dusk I caught fragments of a voice. A man speaking slow, deliberate, as if every word cost him effort. He said, "St. Paul, collapsed bridges, no way across." Then a pause. "Refuge south, highway impassable." That was all. The rest was static, and then silence. If that's true, then the Mississippi crossings are gone, snapped under the weight of ice. This storm isn't just freezing us in place, it's cutting us off from each other, burying the paths that once tied us together. I think about leaving, but then I picture myself out there, one figure in endless white, the wind gnawing at me until it hollows me out. My legs would give way, and the snow would cover me in minutes. I'd vanish the same way the cars and houses have, just another bump in the drifts. That's what the storm wants. To make us all disappear so no one even remembers there was once a city here. Hunger is my shadow now. My hands shake constantly. My thoughts blur. I dream about food even when I'm awake, whole feasts that vanish the moment I blink. My body screams for warmth, for fuel, and I keep telling it, just one more day. Just hold out one more day. Survival has become a bargain with myself, a promise I can't afford to break. If you're hearing this, you're still alive, and that's more than the storm expected. Don't give it the satisfaction of silence. Don't give it your surrender. Find something to burn. Melt the snow, sip it slow, keep your heart beating. Every moment you endure is proof that this storm hasn't erased us yet. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM. My voice is thin, my body weaker, but I'm still here. And if you can hear me, then so are you. That's enough to keep going one more night. It's 12:41 a.m., and the city feels like it has sunk into the earth. Not a sound beyond these walls. No cars, no sirens, no footsteps crunching snow. Just stillness, heavy and suffocating, like the world outside has stopped breathing. I sat in the stairwell earlier, listening, hoping for anything. A shout, a door slamming, even glass breaking. But there was nothing. Only the creak of the building as the ice pressed deeper into its bones. The storm hasn't slowed. Snow falls thick and steady, piling higher each hour until it smothers everything in sight. The drifts on Washington Avenue are taller than buses now, swallowing entire blocks. Street signs vanish first, then cars, then rooftops. Soon even the taller buildings will be nothing but ridges in the white. The city isn't just buried, it's being erased. I saw it with my own eyes this morning when I climbed onto the roof. Minneapolis is gone, replaced with a frozen wasteland. A blank slate where streets and neighborhoods used to be. I caught a faint signal around 11 last night. It cut through for maybe 30 seconds. A woman's voice, calm but weak, saying, "Des Moines, blackouts complete. No aid coming." Her voice cracked at the end like she was crying, and then the static swallowed her whole. If Iowa has fallen silent too, then this storm isn't a regional collapse. It's sweeping entire states into its grasp. We're not just unlucky here in Minnesota. This is everywhere. Food is almost gone. My stomach is an empty pit, twisting so hard it feels like it might cave in. I've been living on scraps, half-frozen chips, melted snow water, and one last can of beans I've been saving like a treasure chest. I keep telling myself I'll open it tomorrow, but tomorrow never feels like the right time. Hunger gnaws, but so does the thought of running out completely. Once the last bite is gone, what then? I keep thinking about the sound I heard 2 nights ago, the shouting in the distance, cut off mid-cry. I can't shake it. Sometimes I wonder if they froze where they stood, their voices swallowed by the snow before they could find shelter. Sometimes I imagine it was a warning, one I couldn't make out in time. Either way, the silence that followed feels heavier than anything I've heard yet. If you're listening now, wherever you are, don't let the silence convince you that you're alone. Talk to yourself. Sing if you can. Keep your body moving, even if it's just pacing back and forth in the dark. Light whatever you can burn. Don't think about tomorrow. Just fight for tonight. Because every breath you take in this storm is defiance. Every second alive is proof it hasn't beaten you yet. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM, still alive, still speaking into the frozen dark. If you can hear me, then you're still alive too. And that's enough for tonight. It's 9:06 p.m., and the cold has a way of creeping into places I thought were safe. The blankets I wrapped around myself earlier are stiff with frost, the fabric snapping like paper when I shift. My boots are still wet from stepping outside this afternoon, and I've kept them near the lantern to thaw. But the leather froze so hard, they may never bend again. The lantern itself sputters more often now, as if it's as tired as I am. The light flickers, and when it does, the shadows stretch across the walls like cracks in the ice. I forced myself to walk further today, south toward the warehouse district, hoping to scavenge something, anything that could burn or eat. The streets were unrecognizable. Snow had drifted up past the second story on most of the buildings, and the only way forward was crawling through tunnels carved by others before me. Some of them ended suddenly, collapsed in, the snow pressing down like a trapdoor sealing shut. In one drift, I found a frozen ladder leaning against a window, the rungs half buried, the top snapped clean under weight. No footprints, just silence. Inside one warehouse, the floor had buckled under the storm. Shelves toppled and crates split open, but everything inside was ruined. Metal pipes frozen solid to the concrete, cardboard boxes turned into slabs of ice. I pried one open and found frozen packets of instant noodles, hard as rocks. I shoved them into my bag anyway. Maybe if I can melt enough water, I can chew them into something that keeps me going another day. The airwaves gave me a surprise tonight. A voice, weak but steady, repeating the same phrase. South Dakota line, shelter at the quarry, 20 alive. It cycled 3 times before fading into static. The coordinates weren't clear, but the words stuck. Shelter, 20 alive. That means there are still pockets holding out, still fires burning against this storm. I thought about them all evening. 20 people huddled together underground, sharing warmth, sharing breath. The image kept me moving, kept me from giving in. But the hunger is worse tonight. My ribs ache from it, a hollow gnaw that won't stop. When I close my eyes, I dream about food. Bowls of soup steaming hot, loaves of bread still warm from an oven. I wake with my mouth watering, only to find my hands empty, my lantern weak. Hunger is the cruelest part of this. The cold kills quick, but hunger lingers, dragging you down piece by piece. Still, I'm here, still speaking. And if my voice reaches you, that means you are too. Don't stop. Don't surrender to the quiet. Even when the food runs thin. Even when the fires gutter out. The storm hasn't won as long as your heart keeps beating. This is Sam Whitmore, 97.4 FM, broadcasting from a buried city. My voice is weak, but it's proof that we are not gone yet. Hold on, just one more night.